Utah is likely the world's best place for overlanding. Following only Nevada, Utah is made up of the most public land in the country. Combine that with the fact that people from all over the world consider Utah to be an off-roading mecca, and you have a recipe for an epic overlanding experience. These details are important because if I'm going to raise the question, is Oregon any good for overlanding, then I must give you, the audience, a frame of reference. There's a good chance that my overlanding experience started in the world's best place for it. So what would happen if you took a Utah man and sent him up the Oregon coast for an entire week? The word overlanding has always been a little bit cringe to me, so we are going to overland, or in this case, honestly, just road trip, like a retired couple in a camper van, through all of Oregon in an attempt to see if it's any good for overlanding. But where is it starting? Where are we? We're not in Oregon. We're in California at a place called Lassen. Lassen is a national park that's home to all 4 types of volcanoes and home to over 60 volcanoes, both active and inactive. So join us while we cook a steak and set up camp, and tomorrow the real trip gets started. We're hitting the road to the Redwoods. Happy birthday, Kaylee. That's right, it's Kaylee's birthday. Inspired by my birthday trip to Yellowstone, we wanted to spend her birthday seeing new places together. The California Redwoods sounded like a good place to start.
We've been driving for a little more than 3 hours. I think it's time for lunch.
In this video, we will pose a question. Overlanding in Oregon, is it any good? Over the course of the next 8 days, I'll try and answer that for you. And in celebration of my girlfriend Kaylee's birthday, we're out here road tripping, or overlanding. We're overlanding to some of the most popular places on the Oregon coast. Our plans for this trip were ambitious. Each day involved 4 to 6 hours of driving, were full of activities, and required that we find campsites that neither of us had ever been to along the way. In the spirit of the hardcore overlanders, we planned to camp dispersed as much as possible. After all, that has been the easiest plan when camping in Utah, so the trend should follow, right? To break up today's drive, we're visiting the Trees of Mystery. How are you feeling about the tree canopy?
Scared.
What are you scared for?
You know why?
I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm terrified of heights.
Terrified of heights, and you're about to go across a rope bridge?
Yeah, I guess so. My heart is racing so fast, that's how you know I'm not lying.
How you doing?
Not good.
Oh, I almost tripped. You conquered your fear of heights. No.
It's everywhere.
One of the trees featured here is the Brotherhood tree. This tree is 19 feet in diameter, about 300 feet tall, and has lived for over 2,000 years. It doesn't stop. Go ahead. One cool thing that you'll notice about this lift is that it's entirely supported by the redwood trees. We sit and we got our own.
So no questions asked. Oregon is absolutely known for their nature and their outdoor activities, but most of the videos that I've seen where people have taken an overland rig here, people who have gone camping here, they all stay in Eastern Oregon, and this is for one reason. All of the good BLM, all of the good trails, those exist only on the eastern side of Oregon. So we're here on the western side of Oregon because we don't got oceans at home. We don't got redwoods. So we're sightseeing like a retired couple and riding trams out here in the mystery of the trees. She's very afraid of heights. You gotta go. Oh, now it stops. The park is beginning to close, so we need to plan our next move. The original plan was to camp on a trail called the Oregon Redwood Trail. However, once we got to the top, we realized there actually weren't any redwoods, and there wasn't really a great place to camp either. So we had to head back to town and figure out our next move. Well, if you didn't know, back in the day, you were not allowed to pump your own gas in Oregon. We just drove through a couple towns with some really nice, cheap beach motels, and I was like this close to turning in for it because I'm tired, and I've driven over like 1,500 miles in 2 days. But then I asked the nice little shy boy at the local grocery store, and he said, go camp instead. And there's a place called the Indian Campground. How's your birthday, Kaylee?
It's good.
It's been good?
Yeah.
You've enjoyed it?
Yeah.
What do we need the knives for? We got the spread mayo. I thought I'm so used to Miracle Whip, which is way better than mayo coming out of the jar with a knife. Gentlemen, we just pulled up to a state park campground, which is it's a whole different vibe. This is pretty crazy. It's not even 10. Everyone's asleep. I feel like I'm being super loud right now. We totally failed on the overlanding today, so we're just making sandwiches and going to bed. But I did want to let you know we're in Humbug State Park, so that's what we're doing, making sandwiches, crashing. We'll see you in the morning. Kaylee, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
I think you're cute.
I think you're cute.
After all, this trip is to celebrate her, and on her birthday, we're at the state park. You guys have a good night. If I learned anything on this trip, camp dispersed. Okay, there's a little bit of a give and take situation going on here. Well, camping here wasn't the most exciting time of my life. I did get to wake up to a hot shower, so that was excellent. I think I stayed a little bit warmer last night than the previous nights, so that was also a good thing. It dumped rain, Oregon, right? Who would have thought? But anyways, a lot of complaints with these go fast campers is that you'll usually get wet, and I stayed perfectly dry. So anytime someone complains about how these tents don't keep you dry at night, I don't know what they're talking about. Today's a big day. We are going to the Sea Lion Caves, and let's tear down camp and hit the road. Putting away the tent wet is what I signed up for. It's not usually good practice. I will be sure to let it dry out when I get home, or just open it for hours when we get to our next camp, so that's all right. Before I talk about solar, trust me, I know it's Oregon, I know how solar works, but I can't tell if there's a short in our solar cable or not, because our fridge should run 3 days off of the Blue Eddy, and right now, we are out of power, and there's not enough solar in order to kind of figure out what the problem is. I'm hoping that it's the cord, or I'm hoping that there's just not enough solar right now, but it could be the cord. I think I have a backup on me, if not, but yeah, hopefully our $25 organic chicken didn't go bad, because they didn't have the cheap shit that I would have bought.
One of the things we planned on seeing today was the Samuel H. Broadman State Scenic Corridor. It's all those fancy arches that you see on all of the Instagram videos. And because we pivoted last night, we did miss that. So now we have probably more time today than any other day of the trip so far to go see some stuff. And I saw a sign for a lighthouse. So this is an Overland video that just kind of turned into the tour of the West Coast. So we decided to hit another kind of touristy activity. There's a safari that has over 400 animals and a lot of them are like free range. So we're gonna go check that out. Before they open, we're gonna go get some footage of this lighthouse. So let's check it out. How many lighthouses have you seen in your life?
I don't know.
You don't know how many lighthouses you've seen? Before this trip, how many times have you seen a lighthouse?
I don't know. I don't remember if I've seen one or not.
So you've never seen a lighthouse?
Sure, we'll say that.
We'll say that you've never seen a lighthouse. What about now, dude?
Now we're at one.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
So it turns out you can actually go in a lot of these lighthouses. I didn't know. We missed it by about an hour, but that's all right. We'll head over to the safari now. I think we should go check out some animals. What do you say?
I'm not sure where I formed the opinion that an overlanding trip must remain off the pavement. While wheeling in Utah is an experience that everyone should have, there are other ways to enjoy your rig. The definition of overland is to travel a long distance overland. Bet you didn't see that coming. So technically this is the most overland trip I've ever been on. It's just different. Good different. This was one of the most fun zoo experiences I've ever had. To have animals both inside and outside of cages blurred the lines and made for a fun time. If I had kids, I would absolutely make this a must-see on an Oregon coast trip.
On the back, the belly, you can cut her on the tail as long as we don't pull on her tail. This little lady, as you guys just felt, she's extremely soft, but believe it or not, it's actually the roughest that she's gonna be. All right, so this is like pretty much a zoo, but all of the animals are a lot more active so far from, you know, based on our experience from the zoos in Utah, right? There's over 400 animals, lots of babies today, and Kaylee and I have this running joke that I could defeat an ostrich in a fight. Sure hope there's no. So I didn't actually bring an air compressor on this trip, so I haven't been able to air down. That's like the next thing on my list, especially with this. We are on some dunes trails. There's a dunes beach out here. I do not belong in a 4Runner running almost 40 PSI right now. I think I'm at 35 on all 4 tires. This is some really deep, sloshy stuff. I'm getting pushed all around, and we'll see if we can get out of here alive. I got the traction boards if I get stuck and a shovel, so I think we're okay. But it's hard because it has a lot of ups and downs, so I can't keep that much momentum because then I'm bumping everything around, but I'm fishtailing everywhere. It's just, so I don't know. I feel like anyone behind the wheel of a 4Runner could probably do this, but it also makes you feel pretty cool because it's like you're counter steering, and I'm in a complete reverse drift understeer right now. Dunes are just a lot of fun. If you've never driven in the sand, it's a treat. It's definitely anxious. There's like some anxiety involved, especially because a lot of other vehicles who are meant to be here can go a lot faster than you. So I always feel like I'm like the dumbass that like erasers and be like, dude, what are you even doing out here, right? When we first started this, before we were recording, there's a downhill corner that we're coming up on where on like a bike or something, you can hold your momentum through it, but in the 4Runner, I can't. So you get up on that hill and you start sliding down towards the fence. Like right now, we're passing a razor right now, and they probably think I'm stupid. But he waved. He was cool. I'm gonna call him Philip. Thanks, Philip. It's nice seeing you. My truck can go everywhere. Just kidding. All right. Well, that does mean there's other people out here on the trail. So, hitting some bumps. Hopefully in this corner we can keep the high ground and keep some momentum to stay away from the fence on the right-hand side. Going into a counter steer. Traction control is pushing me into the wall. All right, got it under control. Some yeehaws, some bumperoos. I'm gonna go home and tell my friends I had the 4Runner 4 feet off the ground. Making Kaylee seasick over here. Shoo! Alright, we made it out alive. I see a stop sign. Let's have some fun now instead. Okay. There you go. Boom. Alright, that's as much as I want to risk having a good old time out in the sand. So we'll put this thing back in too low, too high. Too low would be weird. Who needs a too low? And most people would air up at this point in the story, but not me, because I never aired down. We've been driving a lot, both in the dunes, but also on the freeway. So in order to get our energy up, we pulled over on the side of the road just outside of Florence. I do think I've been here. Pulled over for a couple of reasons: to get our energy up before we go to the sea lion caves, to dry out the tent a little bit, and to get a better solar angle. I still haven't been able to keep my Blue Eddy topped off due to the clouds and driving through trees and everything like that. So hopefully popping the tent, drying it out, and getting some rest will hopefully give us a fridge for the rest of the trip. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. We just arrived to the sea lion caves. There was an old couple coming out, and I'm like, hey guys, is it cold at the bottom? They're like, oh yeah, so grab a coat. So we brought out the Patagonia. We're crossing the street to head on in. So after walking through the gift shop, you were met with a fork in the road. You have to either go left or go right. We went left, so we're heading down to a viewpoint where we can see between 30 and 40 seals, because it is in fact mating season. So this is a little bit of an overlook. And then in order to get to the caves, well, we'll get to that soon. Now that's not my first time seeing sea lions, but it was pretty cool to see them in their natural habitat, where many of them come to life, right? Now we're about to go down this crazy elevator. The guy behind the counter was telling me that it goes 30 feet per second. That's really fast. He said it hasn't been inspected in almost 300 years.
You're like, who told you all this?
The United States isn't even 300 years old. She says she's scared of elevators. We're just gonna go ahead and... We have to go down there. We made it down here to the bottom. Due to mating season, they're all out and about, but there was a couple floating around. There was one hanging out. It's pretty cool to see it. It's a little warmer than I expected, so we're gonna go check out the rest of the cave. Not really just the sea lion cave. It's also very museum-like, which is pretty cool. I mean, like, look at that angle. Fun.
that's gonna have to do it for the Sea Lion Caves. Let's go set up camp, the earliest we've done on this trip.
All right, folks, believe it or not, it's been like literally, it was 90 seconds to get here from the Sea Lion Caves. This is the most off-roading that we plan to do on this trip. It's just the nature of the game. There's not a lot of trails. So when I planned this trip, tonight's campsite was kind of like, hey, that's where we can actually officially call this an overland video, right? On Onyx, this is rated a 1, so it's not for the faint of heart. It might get a little bit challenging. In fact, it's paved right now, but I did see a couple of potholes that my old BMW would never have made across. So, you know, that's how you know that I'm not a mall crawler. But we are up here. We're looking at, I think, an hour and a half in order to get to the end of the trail. There's dispersed camping all along here, which will be really cool. This was on like Oregon National Forest's website in terms of one of the best places for dispersed camping in Oregon. So this will be a good time. We are just driving to the trail at 4 o'clock, and I'd like to at least set up camp by 6 or 7 at least once this trip, so we can just chill out and hang around before it's dark and ready for bed. So hopefully today's the day for that. Looking good so far. It looks like we're already just deep in the forest, and we've only been on the trail for about as long as I've talked to you guys. So let's make it up to the top and set up camp. I think tonight we're gonna get cinematic with it. There's 20 spots with corrals for horses. I've never seen that ever, and now there's a camp that didn't just have 3 or 4, but it had like 20. That's crazy. Well, if you ride horses, this must be the place to go. I don't ride horses. I drive 280 of them. The sun came out for long enough to charge up the Blue Eddy, so it looks like our food is in good shape. I am ready to get to cooking. We just drove this trail. It's pretty cool. It's just a dirt road. It goes deep into the forest. We got to the very top. A lot of the dispersed camping out here is just filled with a lot of trash and squatters, so we're gonna actually take off and go to a nearby campsite. So we're gonna backtrack a little bit, but look at this view. Looks like someone's done some logging. We got up on top of the mountains. It was an excellent time, so we're gonna go and have camp. We skipped lunch today, so we're all a little bit hungry, and we got a day old chicken to get to cooking, so let's head there now. That camp set up, it's time to cook. On the menu for tonight is potatoes, carrots, and chicken. So check this out. I bought this because of the nice packaging. It is supposed to be garlic herb potatoes. It just came with medley and a seasoning packet. And that's all it came with. It wasn't anything special. They got me for like $2 extra on that. Running this seasoning. The veggies were kind of a fail. That's alright. There's a lot going on. We were reorganizing the truck and fighting a fire. Just eat around the carrots. Eat around the carrots. This is what we call a camping meal, Kaylee. I got the chicken up to 165. Now Kaylee and I are about to eat dinner. We finally got the fire started. It was a bit of a battle tonight. I think it might have just been some wet wood from the coast here. We're probably half a mile, quarter of a mile to the ocean, so it's pretty moist. I can't say that on YouTube. I'll censor it. It's lots of water in the area. So we're gonna eat this beloved chicken and then quickly go to bed because I'm done with today. Are you done with today, Kaylee?
Yeah, I am.
We're only about halfway through the trip. It's just been a lot. It's been go, go, go. And camp has been whatever. Like, we've had to make up camp as we're going, so it's all good. Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. To the ladies that are watching this, you are probably an immediate family member of Kaylee, and that's the only reason you were watching. So earlier in this video, I posed the question, overlanding in Oregon, is it any good? And then 2 nights ago, I had the takeaway where it was like, you must camp dispersed. That's the only way to do it. And I'm learning that dispersed camping in Utah and dispersed camping in Oregon are 2 very different things. In Utah, you could end up on the top of a desert plateau and have a wide panoramic view and set up anywhere within a mile, and it'll be awesome. In Oregon, there's so much vegetation, there's so much... That was pelicans. I knew it'd be okay because it's pelican, but in Oregon, just about any of the open spots are filled with trash and litter or squatters, or there's just so much vegetation, and then when you get in the backcountry like that, the bugs get even worse. So dispersed is a little different, and I'm realizing campgrounds have their place, and this is more of a road trip than an Overland BDR Jeep badge trail video. We're just out hanging out and seeing a little bit of the world. So we did jump into Florence, the nearest town to Sutton Campground where we slept last night. We stocked up on some sandwich stuff, stocked up on just a little bit of, you know, what you need when you go camping. So now we're heading north. This is where the trip changes a little bit. I have spent a lot of time on the coast north of here, so there is going to be some familiar sights, starting with the Cape Perpetua overlook. Let's go check it out. We just wrapped up Cape Perpetua. What did you think?
Pretty.
world-class beauty out here in Oregon. So the one funny thing to note before we move on is I popped open the tent. My mic just fell off. So one funny thing to note before we move on is that I did open the tent just to help with some of the moisture that we didn't get out this morning and to get a better solar angle. And it was in a pretty heavily trafficked parking lot, and there was a lot of people watching to do. Kaylee and I pulled over and ate some wheat thins for a few minutes, and the amount of people who seem like they've just never seen a roof tent was crazy. Next up, we're just across the street. This is the next place that I remember going to from the Yachats trip, and it's called Devil's Churn. It says that during high tide, when the water gets to the end of this long, like little, I don't know what you call it, like a bay, right? Water gets to the end of that, it will shoot up to 100 feet high. I don't even know if it's high tide, low tide, or how to tell. But I don't think we're gonna get anything that crazy, but it'll be our first time getting down close to the water. You gonna jump in?
No.
I think we go this way. Yeah, I wanna get down to the churn. Let's talk about a physics lesson. There is this long, narrow pathway for the water to come through. It'll carry that momentum, hit the end, and shoot 100 feet in the air. I don't think we're gonna be lucky enough to see that, but yeah, let's take a look at this. I've now gone further than I went last time I was here, and it actually does get quite a bit cooler. I imagine this is where the launches go, but once you're way back here, it gets narrow. Okay, that one scared me. Maybe this is a little more dangerous than I thought. Yeah, I'm getting out of here. We ain't got trees like this, so this is the angle. This is the angle for this bit. If I was asked what's the plan for the rest of the day, I would say, I don't know. But we are heading towards Yachats, which might be a great place for them to pull over, set up a place to make some sandwiches for lunch. And then we have Newport to check out, which will be pretty cool. I'm hoping to grab a steak or kind of a nicer dinner tonight, hopefully. So that's an option. And from there, we're just hitting any of the cool sites that are labeled well enough for me to pull over in time to get out of the car. Welcome to Yachats. That house, we stayed there for a week a couple years ago, and that's why we're here. So we're gonna walk around, probably get Kaylee some ice cream. You like ice cream? She likes ice cream. We're gonna get ice cream, maybe a souvenir. We're gonna walk to town for maybe an hour, and then we'll move up the coast. So it turns out the whole coast is just a state park, and we're at another one. So walking through this little tunnel, I don't really know exactly where it goes. Oh. Pretty sweet. Kaylee was lucky enough to spot a sea lion. She saw a sea lion, and this is the first trip since I pulled the 400mm out of the bag to save some weight, so you guys don't get to see the sea lion. That's for us. What?
Yeah.
Nice little stroll along the beach.
Yeah.
Getting your steps in.
Yeah.
So the rest of the day, what are we up to? We got a lot of highway miles left. We probably hour and a half from Pacific City, where we're sleeping. That's like the one beach you can take trucks out on. So we're gonna have a fire and sleep on the beach, which will be really cool. Along the way, there is another spot called Newport. Newport's probably pretty well known and popular. That's one of the bigger towns that we've driven by so far. And so we're gonna stop in there, hang out for a bit. And if I remember right, there was a lot of sea lions there last time, so hopefully there'll be some this time. find you some sea lions? You got bit? That's not good. Who bit you? Newport. If we leave now, we'll be able to set up camp by like 5 or 6 and really just enjoy the beach for the whole night. Should we do it?
Yeah.
What's up, guys? So there are a few beaches in the state of Oregon where you are allowed to drive on them. Unfortunately, the rules on camping are a little bit unclear, so we're not gonna camp here tonight, but I am gonna take pictures of the rig at sunset. I'm gonna take pictures of the rig with the stars, and we're coming back tomorrow morning from our other camp to take pictures of it with the sunrise. But look at this. You ain't getting this in Utah. You ain't getting this in Utah.
Found a crab.
A crab?
I think so.
Oh. Yep. There is in fact a crab. Is he alive? I found one just like him. For those of us who don't live within an hour or so of a beach, this is pretty special. Alright guys, what's going on? So it is officially the next morning. After we wrapped up at the beach for sunset, we did head out and have a nice night at camp. We just took that for ourselves, so we didn't film any of that. Now we ended up in Tillamook. I'll be straight with you guys. Earlier today, we hit a couple of the available trails on Onyx, and we're from Utah where a lot of the off-roading is world class, and because I got into it under those circumstances, we didn't realize how lucky we are. So now that we're out in Oregon, there's a lot to see, and there are some available trails here on the West Coast. I think earlier in the video I mentioned that a lot of the real famous off-roading would take place on the eastern side of Oregon, right? So we hit a couple of those, and these trails are just 14, 18, 25 miles of really, really, really nice gravel roads, and it's such deep, thick forest that it all kind of looks the same. And so you start looking at these loops and you're like, that's 4 hours, it's all 1 rated, you know, a 1 difficulty rating, which means there's no excitement, no features, no obstacles. So that's kind of changing and paving the way for the rest of the trip, where I'm deciding to kind of treat this more as like a van life channel. So now we're leaving Tillamook. We did want to hit the Tillamook cheese factory on the way out of town. So we are killing some time before they open. Plus I'm not really a 9 a.m. ice cream kind of guy. So we're gonna head out to this lighthouse and check it out, and then head up the coast for Cannon Beach and other things here nearby. So thanks for sticking through so far. Let's go check out a lighthouse. This is the Oregon weather we expected to see. So we're slowly progressing up the coast. We've made it to Cannon Beach, and we're planning on finishing out the day towards Seaside and finding camp somewhere along the coast up here. One cool thing about Cannon Beach is it is actually the first time I ever went to Oregon. We stayed in a cottage not far from here, and just to kind of relive that and have a little bit of a sentimental moment, I did find it, which it's pretty crazy because it would have been 14 years ago now that I stayed there, and I was still able to navigate there without any maps. I didn't even have my driver's license when we spent time in that house. So it's super cool to be able to find it and see it. We put the awning out and parked away from the wind just to block the wind and the mist. There's a lot of rain going on here, and we just wanted to make some lunch. We got some nice sandwiches complete with lettuce, tomato, salt, pepper, and the whole nine. And then we got a spinach artichoke dip and pita bread. So we're having lunch here, and then we're gonna keep going up the coast. Here, one thing I haven't showed you guys yet is one of the latest things on the truck is 200 watts of Renogy solar. And if you look around, there's no sun. There's no sun on here. Total gray, total gray. Let's check this out. I'm still getting, oh, well, now that I bust out a camera, 37 watts. Earlier it was 60. I busted out the camera because I was still getting 60 watts. But still, I'm charging two of the biggest Sony batteries, and still not drawing as much as the solar is creating. So this is keeping up better now. I feel like there's an issue with the cord or something going on, but I don't know. Solar's been exciting and comforting to have solar everywhere we go.
Is that enough mustard, or do you need more?
I definitely need more.
Which one?
I don't care. You didn't even care to spread it. It's all in one bite.
Just smush it when you smush the bread together.
Okay, I'll do that. They're coming for you.
No, they're coming for you.
They know that you're from Utah. Only criminals from Utah. easiest water crossing. As a matter of fact, this rooftop tent thing, it's not working out. What do you say? Land of the teepee?
No.
No? You don't want to go in the teepee?
No, that looks like a bonfire.
A bonfire?
A bonfire thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna take cover in it. And light it on fire. One special moment on this trip, you know what I'm gonna tell them?
What?
About the special moment? There was one special moment on this trip at sunset while we're sitting over the beach, had the beach to ourselves, where we may or may not have planned on sleeping the night. We didn't sleep there, but magical moment, period, to begin with, right? I finally monstered up the courage to ask Mr. Landlord if we could get a dog, and he said yes. Are you so excited?
Yeah.
She's been begging for a dog for over a year, and he said, yeah, no problem. It was the easiest question ever, and it just took me so long to ask, and it was the easiest conversation. So we're going home, and we're dog shopping.
Yeah.
We're gonna be dog parents together. So anyone who's ever been to Oregon is gonna pretty quickly realize we're no longer on the coast, and there's good reason for that. But first, let me answer the question I posed earlier in the video. Is Oregon any good for overlanding? The question probably should have been, is Christian any good at overlanding, right? Because I planned a lot. I had a document. See, look at this. I had a whole document. We had pins, we had desired camping, but there's just so much that you can't really plan until you get out here and do the thing. One of the huge oversights that I had was that this whole weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and we didn't reserve anything. So instead of fighting for 4 or 5 hours for one of the lackluster dispersed camping, we decided to visit my family out here in Westland, and we've got 2 or 3 more days here in Oregon, which will not really be overlandy-ish. So thank you guys for watching. The next video in Utah will definitely be more off-roading, more overlandish. This just kind of felt like we were a retired couple living out of a van.